right, now that we're done talking about Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! And taking the Maxi Challenge, let's go ahead and instead talk about a topic I haven't in a while, the NIFB. And now, this time I don't mean a random pastor who happens to be NIFB who said some dumb stuff on the internet. No, this time we're going to be doing a bit of an omnibus episode where we cover a variety of NIFB preachers so that you can get an ample sampling of the types of things they say and the types of rhetoric they tend to engage in. Now, if you have never been introduced to the NIFB before, my sweet summer child, oh, my sweet summer child, you are in for, not going to say a treat, but let's just go ahead and say that in a world where you heard the name Westboro Baptist Church, the NIFB make them look tame by comparison. So, let's get into the fan art section and then get into the actual madness. The first one is, of course, from Kidderdoodle. I was able to momentarily break out of my funk to draw a Slime Girl Cirrus, and it is adorable. Thank you very much, Kidderdoodle. Speaking of adorable, we have one from Mathematical Cabbage, which is a Goth Cirrus and a Goth Raz. Able to take up the mantle there for more potential outfit mayhems. And, of course, the last one is from another official channel artist. This one is from Pernia. She said, blame Raz 2.0. So for those who don't know, if you've never seen Tenchi Muyo, this is Raz as depicted as Ryoko from Tenchi Muyo, and then, of course, her cabbit slash spaceship, Ryo-Oki. If you've never seen Tenchi Muyo Ryo-Oki, I highly recommend doing so. It is one of the most adorable and also confusing space opera slash harem animes that has ever been made. It is absolutely wonderful, and it is a great ride. That's a really good feel-good series. But, as always, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. With all that said, I do want to say that if you have not subscribed already, hit the bell notification icon, maybe even the like button if you enjoyed the fan art so far. Please consider doing so, and also maybe supporting the channel on Patreon. It helps out a crap ton, especially since the revenue of the channel is incredibly unstable, so having that bit of stability is incredibly helpful. With that said, let's go ahead and jump right into the episode proper. We're going to begin with a bit from Jonathan Shelley, who has some very choice words to say about feminism. We're starting things off very, very light, everybody. And thanks to Hemet Meta for cataloging all of this for us to make my job infinitely easier.
And if you understand anything about Satanism, you understand anything about the destruction of nations, it always comes through the vehicle of feminism. Feminism is a toxic cancer that destroys everything that it touches. If you look at communism, one of the most important elements to communism succeeding is feminism.
How? No, seriously. How? They feel like very, categorically different things to me. Like, communism, the idea of having a classless, stateless, moneyless society, and feminism, the idea of having equality between genders. Those are different ideas. Now, they're certainly intersectional. In a world where we had a moneyless, classless, stateless society, I would like the status of men, women, and everyone who happens to be between to be pretty much equal. That's what I would prefer. But I can't really imagine a world where one necessitates the other. They certainly work very well hand in hand, but this is a bit of an odd take for me. But let's continue.
Is putting women in the workplace, is trying to get them to have rights or whatever. making them equal with men.
Getting women to have rights or whatever. You got to think, he's saying this to a congregation of maybe like 3 people, who knows, but a congregation of people, while also I would assume some of those people in that congregation are women, and they're just hearing him go, yeah, I guess maybe you need human rights. Who the fuck knows? What the fuck are rights for women anyway? Weird. Nakibri says, I don't see how this even works in their logic. The right thinks communism is everyone is equal to the detriment of everyone, and they think feminism is putting women above men. It requires a lot of logical leaps to get to there, but thank you for the 100 bits.
Communism, who cares about it? It's just a vehicle of Satanism, because everything really is just coming from the devil, and the devil wants to destroy culture. And you
imagine being so reductive that you've painted yourself an enemy and then go, but the enemy doesn't really matter, because, I mean, the enemy that we're here to talk about today is Satanism. It's all just Satanism. It's very convenient and very cult-like when you can take literally every disagreement you have with something and then just boil it down to Satanism, so that any issue you might have with society can be easily dismissed under that thought-terminating cliche.
You look at wicked satanic cultures, what's always at the forefront typically? Feminism. So I'm not saying that all roads lead to feminism, but I'm saying all feminism roads lead to Satanism.
All feminism roads lead to Satanism. No real, good qualifying information on that. Nothing that gives us any insight, just old man yelling at clouds. Jonathan Shelley, everybody. This is the first NIFB preacher that we are looking at today, but he is by no means the last. We are also going to be looking at another person, Corbin Ressel, from the Faithful Word Baptist Church. He wants to say that men don't want to get with pro-choice women for reasons, I guess. Despite the fact that I would prefer anybody who I get with, and I know most people who are in my circles would prefer that women they get with be pro-choice, because, I mean, it's probably good that the person you're with to have an idea that they would like to have control of their own body. There's usually some awkward power dynamics that come off when somebody gets into a relationship and immediately assumes that they don't have control over their own body. But let's go ahead and hear what he has to say. Maybe there will be some thoughtful logic that we have not yet considered.
These blue, green, orange, yellow, neon-haired women with a bunch of holes in them that look like they got poured out of a box of Fruit Loops.
Women with a bunch of holes in them that look like they got poured out of a box of Fruit Loops. So basically just women who have piercings and have colored hair. Oh, so scary. Revens Eberdance, thank you very much for the follow. Absolutely terrifying. I'm going to use the volume control, see if I can fix that volume issue.
Are out there saying, well, now we're not gonna fornicate. I'm not gonna use. There's some words I won't use from the pulpit because I don't want you to have to explain what that word means to your children on the way home.
He's an NIFB pastor, and they've used words like the F slur and the R slur and stuff like that from the pulpit all the time. It's very strange to me that those words, saying that certain people need to be killed by the government, all of that stuff is perfectly acceptable for them to say on the pulpit, but saying the word sex, just saying that word, that's the scary one. The thing human beings need to do to reproduce and survive, that's the bad one. Telling you about literally murdering minorities in the States, that's the fine one. Yes, does he not expect Timmy to ask what fornicate means? Yeah, I'm not going to use the other word because then your kid's going to ask what it is, so I'm just going to say fornicate. Timmy's going to go, Mom, what's fornication? That's when your mommy and daddy wrestle, hun.
Now, a word like fag I will use from the pulpit.
I hadn't seen this clip yet. I hadn't seen the clip. I hadn't seen the clip yet. I had no idea he was gonna do that. I didn't know he was just gonna blurt it at that exact moment. My point has been made. I thought I was giving all that context, like these are the words the NIFB will use. Isn't that funny? And then he just does it. Then he just says it flat out. Okay.
And you can go ahead and explain that to your child on the way home. Because I can't think of a better word. Anyway, I don't want to go off.
He can't think of a better word than the F slur to explain to your child. Explain to your child why you're a hateful piece of shit. That's what he thinks is perfectly okay, but explaining to your kid how they came into the world, that one's icky and bad.
But these women are out there saying, well, we're not gonna fornicate. We're not just gonna, lay down with you guys until abortion's legal again, until we get our way when it comes to abortion. It's like, that's what we've been trying to get you to do from day one. First of all, who are the men that I want to get with these women?
Me? Most people I know? Again, you're basically saying that women are unattractive because of a certain opinion. Like, I'm sure that works for me because I'm demisexual, so like, from my point of view, yeah, an opinion can make someone unattractive, automatically. But, for most people who don't have that particular holdup, a person's opinion might not necessarily color how attractive they find them. It might not change how sexually attracted they are to an individual. But okay, sure. I guess he just admitted he's demisexual and thinks all men are demisexual?
It's like, no, please. Not that, anything but that. Meanwhile, like, all the happily married men are just like, whatever. Probably sparing some guys some misery. I don't know who wants to get with these Bart Simpson-looking freaks anyway.
So we just have misogyny. Just a bunch of misogyny. Some woman doesn't look like a traditional trad wife, and therefore I can be a sexist piece of shit. Okay, sure. Why not?
Their short little spiky haircut.
Hey, short and spiky hair can be hot.
Trying to look and act like men anyways. It's a joke.
So also tomboys are hot. I don't see the issue. Like, I know that from his perspective, what he's trying to do is he's trying to paint all liberal women as if, like, all liberal, all progressive women, all women who don't politically agree with him. He wants to say that they all look like these freaks and these assholes. And I'm here to tell you, just because you're not attracted to certain people doesn't mean that other people aren't also attracted to them. There are some people that find the traditional, long blonde hair, flowing dress type of look, type of aesthetic to be rather unattractive. There are people who find the more short, spiky hair, more free-spirited look for people to be more attractive. Doesn't matter. Like, you are not the arbiter of who gets to find what attractive or who does. So your point, which seems to be mainly to make your audience laugh, should probably be falling on deaf ears. The problem is your audience is a group of hateful sycophants, so when you use verbiage that is tuned to be received by a bunch of hateful sycophants, of course they're going to nod and laugh. They have 3 brain cells shared between all of them, and they are desperately starved for oxygen.
Well, we're not gonna give it up to you guys till we get abortion again. No, please, no. It's like, that's what we've been trying to get you. We've been trying to get you to stop whoring around forever. That's. Thank you. And guess.
So, I understand from his perspective here. The idea is that, oh, okay, cool. Then we've won twice over because now women aren't sleeping around. I get it. The argument, though, is not that all women who are pro-choice look like your idea of what a liberal woman looks like. There are plenty of women who look like your traditional wife, who look like your traditional, long hair, barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, who have that type of look, who are also pro-choice. But I will say this. Individually choosing not to sleep with your husband, it might not change the political landscape. What can change the political landscape, though, is sleeping with senators. That is an avenue that can work. You see, grabbing senators and people who work in the House of Representatives and sleeping with them, specifically with Republicans, people who would otherwise vote against your individual rights, making it to where it would be, let's say, politically expedient for them to not vote against your rights because, in a world where you don't have the right to an abortion, they can't get you an abortion. That might be a little more effective, potentially. But even then, I don't suggest putting out to random senators. If anything, you'll probably catch some incredibly nasty disease trying to do so.
Guess what? If you stop doing that, you're not going to need an abortion. Duh.
And again, there's this idea here that if somebody simply doesn't have sex, they will never get pregnant. Ignoring the fact that things like rape happen, and therefore whether or not you want to have sex might not even factor into the argument. On top of that, should also be noted, and is also incredibly important to say, consent to sex is not consent to pregnancy, in the same way that consent to a car ride is not consent to a car crash. Despite the statistical likelihood that a random dipshit will do something on the highway, there is also a low chance when you have contraceptives involved in getting pregnant during sex. And yet, it can and does happen, just like car crashes do happen. But just like you took protective measures from the car crash and putting on the seatbelt and keeping your eye out on the road, you ideally took protective measures when it came to using contraceptives, lowering the chances that you would engage in a dangerous part of the physical activity you were taking part of. As a result, since all the mechanics are identical here, we can conclude that the consent to the sex part, just like the consent to the car ride, is not consent to every possible thing that can happen as a result of that. But remember, guys, this is a religious leader. This is somebody who commands the ear of fives of people. Technically more than that. These cults, these various churches that have been sprouted up from the New Independent Fundamental Baptists, the NIFB, they are large enough and they spread far enough, but the big issue is that they also try to actively get involved in politics and actively harm people through that involvement. This is the mentality of their leaders, and it's being agreed with by the people who are in the church as well.
I guess falling out of the ugly tree has more consequences than just your looks.
He says, as he looks like that. And of course, that's the end of that particular clip. So, I didn't want to end that clip on just a burn about me thinking the guy's ugly, but then again, I'm a guy. I think all guys are ugly. So that doesn't change anything. Being straight doesn't help there. But, again, these are religious leaders. These are people who command the words and opinions of multiple people at any given time. We're going to return to Jonathan Shelley for a moment, because not only do we have misogyny on the table, not only do we have anti-feminism on the table, we also have a bit of anti-Semitism on the table. I'm sure everybody's ready for that.
But it came to pass that when Sanballat heard that we builded the wall, he was wroth to great indignation and mocked the Jews. Now, this is going to be complicated for some of you in this room, but the Jews are the good guys in this story, okay?
Can you explain something to me, Jonathan? Is there a particular predilection? Is there a particular position one might have that would lead someone to believe that generally speaking, the Jews are the bad guys. There's a word for that, I'm pretty sure. And I'm pretty sure there was also a very notable organization in German history that had a really bad case of this this word. It's not coming to mind though. It's God. You know, we'll come back to that word. The semantics, they're getting to me.
So when you hear Jews, you're going to have to think good guys. And that might be really hard for you. You might have to write it down in your notes or something. But the Jews here are the people that we're in support of, okay? But it came to pass.
So, again, why would it be hard for an audience to accept that Jews can be good? Again, this word just keeps on slipping my mind. Maybe it'll come to me. But it feels very anti-Semitic of him. Ah, there it is. There's that word. Anti-Semitic. That's the word we're looking for. What do we call somebody who is anti-Semitic, anti-human rights, and we'll get into some other antis, but maybe we'll figure out the word here in a little bit we would use for someone like that. Personally, I would suggest maybe write down your guesses in the comment section below here, because we're not exactly playing multiple choice. It could be anything. But we're going to move on to another pastor within the NIFB cult. Bruce Mejia, or Mejia, or I don't know how to pronounce names. I'm completely awful at it. Because, of course, it's not enough to be anti-Semitic. It's not enough to be anti-women. It's not enough to be any of those things. You, of course, also have to be anti-gay. And, I mean, we already got a little bit of that, but, you know. Let's just play the clip. You make your own assumptions here.
And you know what? I heard that they're going to try to, like, ban something. What was it? Something about sodomites or something. From what is it, getting married or something like that? Or make it illegal or something like that? I don't remember the whole thing that I heard. But once I heard something about some law against sodomites, I was like, yippee-ki-yay. You know, anything, please. We'll take anything. Anything. And you know what? Maybe that'll impede the judgment of God from coming just a little bit.
You know, it's one thing to have an imaginary friend. It's another thing to have an imaginary enemy, but it's a whole nother problem if your imaginary friend is also your imaginary enemy if the gays happen to be around. Brucey here is talking, of course, about the conversation that justices like Clarence Thomas have put up, that Obergefell might fall later, which of course is the ruling that allows gay couples to get married in a federally supported way here in the United States. Now, quick tangent, just for me, I am of the opinion that the position that human rights should just be allowed to be stripped away and we shouldn't do anything about that physically is a rather stupid one. I am of the opinion that it is very hard, it is incredibly difficult to use physical means to fight for your rights because of the chance of collateral damage. I understand that that is the case and that is reality, but I believe that it is self-defense to fight for your human rights. So I'm of the opinion that if you say, oh, I don't know, going to a protest where things happen to get very, very bad, where this is concerned, is a dumb and stupid thing to do, and you should never resort to anything like that. I disagree with that statement. My question would be, how many of your human rights would you be okay being stripped away one by one before you would finally decide that enough is enough and physical means might be necessary? If you can't figure out where that line is for yourself, then you are living in a state of complete and utter self-delusion. If your argument is that you could just leave and go somewhere else where the need for you to get physical to defend your particular rights will never be necessary. What happens when the country that is stripping away your human rights starts to try to invade other countries and do it there too? And if the argument is that that would never happen, it literally happens every day. But we got to keep on with Brucey here. We got to keep on with Brucey because there's a particular thing he wants our government to do that I don't agree with, but awkwardly might justify my previous statement.
I'm celebrating that Roe versus Wade was overturned. I'm thankful because of the fact that that means that, you know, maybe less babies are going to die. I think that's a great thing, okay? But, you know, God's word says that the people who own these abortion clinics should be put to death. Right. Every doctor of an abortion clinic should be put to death by the government. That's what the Bible teaches because they kill babies. Amen. Bunch of wicked reprobates who have no problem destroying an innocent child. You know, we're over here talking about, oh, great, this is great. Yeah, but what about these criminals that are worthy of capital punishment because they kill babies? I'm celebrating that.
So, this is a call for violence. That's what this is. Now, it may be filtered through the government. It may be filtered through that, but we have a political leader here who is effectively calling for violence on people who are doing their jobs, performing a medical procedure. This is not self-defense because somebody's rights are being taken away. This is literally going straight forward, full chest, and saying that doctors should be murdered. Now, I'm not saying somebody should go and attack any NIFB places. Please don't fucking do that. That's what people like Bruce want. Awkwardly, did you know that if you were to go and attack any church in the NIFB, you would make the situation better for them? Because you would. Everybody in the NIFB wants to be persecuted by people because it inflates their narrative. It makes them look like the good guys, and it just increases their ego. There are proper ways to defend your rights, and going and hurting people at a church is not going to do shit. So please don't ever do that. And I'm not saying that as a tongue-in-cheek, let's let something happen stochastically way. No, seriously, do not fucking do that. Literally ever. That is not a way to defend your rights physically. Going to a protest, and if things happen to go bad, defending yourself, that is a form of self-defense. That is okay. Going and attacking a church, not okay. So no matter what you do, their ego gets inflated. You're right, it does. But you as an individual will at the very least be affecting nothing and only hurting yourself. Yeah, right now a huge thing would be to ban the NIFB in every other country. Steven Anderson is already banned in several countries, at least 34 of them. Steven Anderson Rule 34 will probably help you locate exactly which countries he's banned from. But getting the NIFB as an organization banned is incredibly important. Because even in places where Steven Anderson, leader of these all of these churches combined, himself can't go, those other countries can still have NIFB churches. But we do have another member of the NIFB we got to talk about right now, and you might remember his name. It's Tommy McMurtry. Now, once upon a time, we couldn't really tell if Tommy McMurtry was sexually attracted to pumpkins. We were really on the fence over whether or not Tommy McMurtry had a sexual attraction to pumpkins. It was very hard for us to figure out whether or not he had this sexual attraction, but regardless of that fact, he is still a terrible person who is saying terrible things. So we have to look past the potentially based attraction to pumpkins and look at everything else he is saying right now. So,
I don't think it's a
let's go ahead and take a look at what he's got to say about gay people.
I don't think it's a coincidence that Roe versus Wade gets overturned in the month of June when I'm seeing more and more people stand up and say, there is something wrong with this pride movement. There is something wrong with the things that they're pushing. And now people are talking about making it a holiday, which I think they should. And I think, I think we should take the whole month and celebrate the overturning of Roe versus Wade and make this month of June Life Month. I say we steal it back from them. And here's the funny thing, too. The homosexual crowd should be the last people in the world that are even concerned about abortion becoming more difficult now. What do they have to worry about? But yet, they're the ones freaking out the most. Why is that? You know why? Because they're not about their little relationships that they're acting like they're all for. They're about promoting evil and wickedness and death. That's what they're all about. And the fact that the same crowd is so upset about something that does not affect them in any way, it just proves what they really are.
So let's talk about that, Tommy. How about you and I have a conversation about that? So LGBTQ, there are trans people who can get pregnant, and there are people who are in lesbian relationships who will use surrogacy or potentially have another person come and impregnate one of them so that they can have a genetic child in their relationship. These are things that happen. Even parents who are gay can potentially have a daughter, not necessarily genetically, but adopt a daughter and then now be concerned that their daughter might have to deal with the consequences of Roe being overturned. There are several situations in which a person or their loved ones may be affected here. But of course, Tommy's not about thinking about any of that. The nuance of that, the minutia, all that just goes out the window. The important thing to him is that he has an easy dunk because his audience is equally as stupid as he is. So when he says something nightmarishly stupid into the microphone, they all vapidly will nod their heads along with it. Make no mistake, that stupidness can be cured because any type of cult-like indoctrination can be cured. A person can get out of a cult and realize how knee-deep into everything they were. But there's more to it than that. You have to remember, we who analyze these court cases getting overturned and who listen to the things that our Supreme Court justices have to say and who watch court overrules in 6-3 opinion, court overrules in 5-4 opinion, court rules in 6-3 opinion over and over and over again, we recognize that things like Obergefell are actually at risk because the Supreme Court justices themselves, Clarence Thomas and Alito specifically, have said that these are things that they would like to put on the chopping block. While also saying through the corner of their cheeks that Roe being overturned does not have any effects on any other laws. Nothing else will happen as a result of Roe. We're to believe those kind of lies because, well, these are not people with respectable opinions. The idea is supposed to be fed to you that Obergefell is safe because they've said it's safe in their opinion on Roe, but then in separate opinions have pointed out that they want to get rid of Obergefell. People who are actually paying attention to that have reason to worry that Roe falling means that other rights can be taken down on top of that. Anything that has been related on Amendment 14 or the United States right to privacy can be affected from this point on. Because the idea that the Supreme Court can strip rights away from people instead of granting new rights to people through their interpretation of the law has been cemented now into the social zeitgeist. We expect it now. And if it's expected, you can expect it'll happen again, and again, and again, and again. But don't worry, we're not done with the NIFB. We have one more pastor to talk about. This is Jared Pozarnsky. And I think this will be the last one we listen to today because he's got some words to say about women as well. Maybe it'd be a good idea if we take a listen. After all, he is a person in a position of leadership. His words should carry a certain weight, shouldn't they?
You know, when it comes to wives, it's the Bible says that they're supposed to, therefore as the church is subject unto Christ, the Bible says. It says, let the wives be unto their husbands in everything. If I came home and my wife had a whole meal on the table and I said, I want pancakes. And she's like, oh man, but I've already made hamburgers. And I'm just like, I have to have pancakes right now. Look, she should make pancakes. When it comes to wives,
So I'm going to be incredibly insulting and say what he's looking for here is not a wife, but a mom. He is wanting to remain an infantile child his entire life, where his wife will take care of everything for him. That's what he wants. And of course, you have to remember, there are people in his congregation who are hearing this too, and they're hearing effectively that if their husband says something that is incredibly stupid and unreasonable and unfair and petty, those are the types of things that they need to be listening to the most. But technically, this makes a little bit of sense when you think about how the Bible is written, because the Bible has said that slaves should obey their masters, even and especially if they're cruel. So isn't this pancakes example one of fickleness from the husband? It is. But in his opinion, in his mind, what matters more is that the husband is in a dominant position of power in the relationship. The NIFB believes that men should always be in power over women in any way, shape, and form. Not that women and men should be equal because we are born on this dumb fucking planet all the same exact way, and it's literally just a roll of the dice whether or not one of us will be born with a certain set of gametes or even a certain predilection to a particular gender. All of those things are left entirely up to chance. According to the NIFB, we should let that chance dictate literally every aspect of our life. Why not take that logic further? Chance dictates that you were born in a particular city or a particular home. Stay there forever, for the rest of your life. Never leave. Never leave. Oh, what's that? You could move anywhere else because you have the power to? No. Don't leave. Chance dictated you would be born there. Don't even leave the goddamn hospital room. That's your house now. You were born there. Chance dictated that. The NIFB believes that gay people should be executed by the government. Doctors who do their jobs performing medical tasks should be executed by the government. Women should not have equal rights to men, and wives should succumb to the smallest of petty requests from the husband, no matter what they are. This is an organization based not on teaching religion, not on teaching the words of Jesus Christ, not any of that shit. No. All of that is window dressing. The NIFB's job, first and foremost, is to create a hateful cult of sycophants who will cause harm and chaos and hell on earth. That is their position. That is what they do. That is what they create. That is what they preach. That is their entire identity. None of it is one of love, acceptance, or anything even remotely logical. It is entirely based on otherizing, creating pain, and harming others. Make no mistake, for those who have not paid attention to the New Independent Fundamental Baptist in a very long time, they are still very much around. They are still very much doing the exact same things they've done ever since the beginnings and even beforehand with the Pumpkin Saga. Nothing's changed. They're still doing this. They're still dangerous. And if you find out that you have a friend who happens to go to one of their churches, maybe reach out and try to help. Because this is a recipe for indoctrination and disaster. And they're still growing.
Never look a tulip in the eye.
Yeah, they're bigger than ever as Holdfast is a new one. Yeah. The Speechless Prince, thank you for the follow. But with that said, let me know what you think in the comment section below. To me, these people,
Never look
and make no mistake, they are people. Stardust Fandom, thank you for the follow. They are people, not monsters. I mean, they are monsters, but that doesn't stop them from being people. These are people just like you and me. But they've fallen for this incredibly hateful ruse. So let me know what you think should be done in the comment section below. Bear in mind, if anybody tries to put through a call for violence of any kind, that comment will probably most likely get deleted. So don't fucking do that. Because as I said, that's not going to get anything accomplished in this scenario. That doesn't. Violence is used as a last resort, and it is used as a means of self-defense. It cannot be used as a proactive thing that is thrown at a group of people, regardless of how hateful they may be. That generally only makes these situations incredibly worse. You cannot control for collateral damage. But with that said, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you haven't already. There's Patreon, all that other fun stuff. And as always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.